Oh my gosh, difficulty settings is such a hard thing to do. Like, um, man, and I think it's hard because, like, what is difficult, right? Difficult is subjective.
Well, well. You see, here's the thing: is that I think in this game in particular, like, it's actually supposed to be really hard. Not really hard in the like impossible sense, or like in the Dark Souls sense, where like some things are just so hard that you have to like grind through them until you eventually win, kind of by accident. But like easy mode, okay, so easy mode here on the left is actually easy. Like it's pretty straightforward. You don't really have to think very much. Classic is actually really hard. Like there is no tiny little yeah.
There is no tiny little like
there's no gradation. There's no step up. And easy mode doesn't really teach you how to play classic mode. Like it's a very different version of the same
that's
game.
my problem. Like it needs to, like, if easy mode taught you, right? It was like hyper tutorial mode. That's what it should be called, right?
Yeah. But it's not.
Hyper tutorial.
Because there's a thing that happens in classic mode that doesn't happen in easy mode at all. And so it's like, okay. But so if you hover over it, it literally says that classic mode is the adventure of Iris, difficult yet not overly so. This is the classic game as it is meant to be played. And for like people who have played, say, like Slay the Spire before, the difficulty, I would put it around like Ascension 9 or 10, which is actually pretty hard in Slay the Spire. Mostly because, and the thing is like it's hard because the game doesn't teach you its strategy. Like it doesn't sort of like broadcast how to do strategy. You just have to figure it out, or like look it up, or just generally do the sorts of things that we had to do when we were younger. Go read a game FAQ and try to like puzzle out how the game is played. So I'm going to start off actually on I'm going to start off on classic.
I was going to say, there goes that acronym again, game FAQ,
well,
a game fact. So, I will say that like after reflecting, after talking with you, I was like, did I call it a game fact? And I was like, I probably did.
No, you insisted on calling it FAQ. I was the one who said FAQ.
Yeah, but like in my youth, right?
In ye olden days.
The ferryman of the Styx.
The ferryman of the Styx.
A river that separates the real from the imaginary. It's funny.
So, one thing about this game is that, first of all, it's like really beautiful. The psychology of it is pretty over the top. Like the whole, I have to face my demons. And they're literal demons. Like the demons are literal demons. Here are some, before letting you go, here are some tips. So like there is sort of basic tutorial functions. Each turn you draw 4 cards and you have to play one. Play this axe card to hit all the demons in front of you. So let's do that. Whack! We kill the kitties and the skeletons, which seems sort of wrong. Sword cards can be played in the same turn. Play your 3 sword cards now. Thwack! It's also worth noting that weapons can be used to damage terrain as well. And that is... it's not a super important strategic thing to know, but it is a thing you have to know in order to progress through some levels. Touch these crystals to pick them up. They will allow you to get special cards. And then you touch the crystals. Open the chest to find new cards. Okay, so the one on the left here is fire, which kills everything in a straight line. Shield cards, which I'm going to take, are very useful. Fire is, it's an okay AoE, so I'll take that as well. And then the dagger cards kill any opponent in a single blow, regardless of like how much armor or whatever they have. And swords are just 1 damage, which you can use as many swords as you want in a single turn. Here, you can open your bag to see the cards you have left. Be careful. If your bag is empty, you lose the game. And that's one of the, so it has a sort of Magic the Gathering mechanic to it, where it is possible to essentially like burn someone's deck, or rather your deck can be burned. So yeah, I can see all the cards in my bag, thank you. Each defeated demon gives you 1 star. You can see here the stars you have to find to become stronger. So yeah, you can kill demons to become stronger. You can also collect gems to become stronger. There is a certain advantage to not killing enemies and just like progressing. So like I'm going to do that in this level. Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, I know, thank you. Lastly, demon attacks will reduce your will, so that's essentially your hit points. Be careful, if your will reaches 0, you lose the game. So the will is an important thing because it sort of represents Iris's like willingness to like continue struggling against all of sort of her emotional difficulties. So
Oh man, that's super funny because like we actually used will in like Avengers,
oh,
like
that's
your willpower.
yeah, that's right, yeah. But it's a little different here because I mean it just is HP.
No, it basically is health, right? But like
Yeah.
you know, it's not about the health. Like they're trying to tell you it's about like the strength to live on, like narratively, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess it's a better way to do. I don't know. Health can be sort of boring. Like it is interesting to sort of reconceptualize health. Although in this case, like the mechanic isn't necessarily different. Like the cards that restore confidence or will can be made interesting through like power ups, but the health mechanic itself is pretty straightforward. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to not take these gems right away because. So, a tactic that I had to learn early on, especially like in the later floors, is not to take rewards right away so that way you can handle certain things that are coming at you. So these little kitties with the bows and arrows, they can hit you from range, but these dudes with the axes can't. So if I leave this gem thing here, this dude actually can't hit me, and so I can just sort of work on this middle row. Problem
Well,
is...
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're actually saying that the gems themselves are like a barrier to attacking you?
Yeah, because the power-ups are like situated on the game board itself. And so you can use them essentially as a block that you can control because it doesn't disappear until you open it or you like mine the little gem things. So if there is something that is like a melee attacker and it's stuck behind one of those, it can't do anything. So it's like a shield essentially.
Oh, that's really interesting. I love the idea of like loot as a shield. Like
it is pretty cool. But like I said, I had to figure that out through a lot of playing, a lot of like. So okay, so one of the things that you could, so the shield cards are pretty powerful simply because they prevent you from taking any damage at all, and so that's both like will damage or like getting cards stolen. Because getting cards stolen is also a kind of damage because, as the game said, if you run out of cards, you are borked. The problem is the cards I have right now kind of suck. So what I'm going to do is I actually am going to clear these so that I can use my axe. Hey, you're following. That's great.
I didn't realize that I wasn't doing that before this stream, and I apologize.
Okay, so this chest is safe to take because there's just rocks behind it, so it's not really blocking anything. We need more AoE cards. Let's see. It would be especially worth... Actually, I'm going to use a shield on you first. And then I'm going to AoE this middle column. So then we can use the axe to get an additional hit. And so that little like bit that the big guy had on him, that's armor. Armor sucks. God, I don't have any decent cards. Alright, so we leveled up, which means we can upgrade one of our abilities. I used to think Determination was really good, which is essentially like healing from doing damage. Nerve is only if you want to like make your life even more difficult. I usually go for Resistance because the shield cards are really powerful and this adds an extra turn to shield cards. And we're also going to vaporize this column here because we want to get this thing right here, which is a memory.
So, cat got your tongue? I will have to give you a failing grade. If all you're going to do is cry, you might as well sit back down.
I don't actually hear your game audio, so does that mean there was game audio for this that's just not coming through?
Oh, there is game audio. Maybe I just need to
It
turn
could just be my audio settings, like.
Let me try turning the game audio back. I had turned it down because it seemed a little loud. Sounds. Wait, that's not what I wanted. I want the mixer. Volume mixer. Okay. Let's push that up a little bit. Can you hear it now?
I can hear it a little bit, maybe not. I mean, this always happens, right? So.
Okay.
Yeah. If anyone like can't hear the game audio in chat, just let me know.
Yeah. Alright, well, then I'm going to turn my audio down a little bit because it's That's a little loud on my end. All right, so that was a memory, and it becomes clear that like the allegory of the game is to represent sort of Iris's own difficulties in school. Like, she's clearly, or at least to me, she seems to be clearly coded as like being on the autism spectrum. Although the game never really comes out and says that. Like, she could also just read as like incredibly introverted. So we got another level up. You also get level ups when you kill one of the major boss dudes, and then they give you a special ability. Unlimited arrows is not great. This one is really good. The ability to use the dagger in the second row, because daggers are really nice.
Am I in one of my dreams? The labyrinthine maze of my imagination, with my will as my only guide.
So another thing I really love about this game, aesthetically, is the way it uses the like parallax effect. Lauren, are you familiar with this?
Yes, I am familiar with parallax.
Okay.
A lot of games use parallax, like just in general, for like that's the only way to create Z fighting, or to create the correct like order of the Z.
Yeah, so it's a problem that especially solves a difficulty that you have in like 2D engines, where like 2D engines often feel like really flat, but you can create the illusion of depth by using the parallax effect, where, you know, for those of you who don't know, essentially like anything that is in the foreground is going to appear to move faster in your field of vision than anything that is further to the background. And the reason for that has to do with a series of complex like optical effects. But because that's the way your eye typically works, you can use you can reverse engineer that into a game to create the illusion of depth, even though what you're actually looking at is just a series of planes. So like where the UI is would be one plane, where this framing element is a plane. The primary playing field would be a plane, and then also you'll see in some other images where like there's a distinct background. It's not quite as clear here because there's like a cavey tunnel area. So we don't have any particularly difficult mobs here. And also worth noting, you notice how like the rows like have shrunk. There's fewer rows now because we're inside of a tunnel, so it's like, you know, the space is more confined. This is also a terrible hand, by the way. So I'm gonna get rid of one of these. And it's worth killing this guy back here ASAP because he steals some cards. All right, and then also it's worth clearing out this column here.
I'm gonna go into like, it looks like, since you already kind of know like the game,
Yeah.
how do you kind of how did you learn that guy was gonna steal cards?
By getting cards stolen. Also, if you hover over them, they tell you. So there is a tooltip. So these are the basic skeletons. The skeleton will strike me without hesitation if he gets in front of me. So this guy has to be in the front rank in order to be able to hit you. And if you hover over the kitty, on each turn this cat will shoot an arrow at me. So this one doesn't have to be in the front rank in order to be able to hit you. This creates an interesting problem for us, where to preserve cards, we could just go to the next floor. However, we could also pick up more cards by getting this chest right here. So, however, if we use this AoE effect, that will damage the chest and it will give us fewer cards. So I'll show you that. So you see now the chest is a little clunked. So I open up the chest. Let's go with some swords, why not? So we have plenty of cards. And let's advance to the next floor. And Lauren, you'll probably, it's not quite the same, but the sort of like, the world map is very similar to like the way the world map works in Hades. All right.
So it looks like every single enemy, so hi new viewer, for those joining, it looks like every single, we're just kind of playing through the game and kind of identifying different game mechanics that we see.
Yeah.
It's like every enemy actually has a tooltip, which I think is pretty interesting, especially in the 2D space. Because you're kind of like, did those tooltips ever go away? Or
Nope,
are they
they're
always missing?
They're there the whole time.
What's kind of nice. It makes it like an easier game. Like it's not like Dark Souls where you have to learn your enemies, right? You just
Yeah.
kinda, like,
It's worth noting that because the thing is, like, periodically, and I think the reason for that is periodically the game will add new types of enemies for you without telling you what they are. So you do have to like investigate what they are. And also this one says like not only is it a baby minotaur, but he wears armor which protects him from, like, it'll explain whether or not it has armor. Over the steely guy, tells you that the cat. But you can also sort of see what's coming. So you will see the first 3 ranks. Like, you can completely identify them. And then you'll see outlines of subsequent ranks, but you can't actually mouse over them. Now, I happen to know what this guy is, and it's gonna suck. And I happen to know that this is a chest right here. Oh, there's also mimics in this game, so chests are not always safe. And you can sort of see this is a minotaur here. You can sort of see this is a skeleton. You can sort of see this is a cat. So you might know vaguely what they are, but you won't know how much armor they have. You won't know if they're one of like the special types of that particular mob. So you get a little bit of information on these back guys, but also it's worth noting that while they're here, they're also not active. So if they have any like AoE abilities that affect the other mobs on the board, they're not active so long as they're in this like shadow space. So that's another thing that tactically you have to keep in mind. I am going to advance this one. So that way I can use my axe to clear a bunch of dudes. Okay, so this guy right here, this skeleton has a terrible power. It allows my enemies to attack twice. We're going to want to get rid of him ASAP. Oh, we're probably dead. No, we're not dead. Good. I told you Classic is hard. Let's see. Actually, I think we are kind of screwed, especially with this hand we have. Alright, I gotta get rid of these guys.
Kind of reminds me of like, I don't know if you've played like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but there's this like dice game where you roll your dice and you get a random set of kind of cards that you drew them.
Yeah.
And then you've got arrows for range, swords for not, and like shields and stuff, right, to do different attacks. And like this mechanic actually feels like I want to be like straight out of that game, but that's not true, right? Like I bet they don't have any relationship to each other.
No.
It's just funny how like, oh yeah, you need these cards mean this thing, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's a fun mini game. Like, and I see.
Yeah, but this is sort of like if that were the whole game.
No, exactly. Yeah.
And the funny thing is that I have this theory about the game that like classic is sort of the classic version of the game is so hard is because much like in Hades, you're supposed to fail, like you're expected to at least, because you don't really get the additional abilities that you need to actually be successful until after you failed at least once. So like it is possible to go through all of the floors with just like the basic card set and the basic abilities, but it's ridiculously hard. And I don't think oh crap, I'm just I gotta kill him. Too much damage. Yeah, we're done.
Oh, Classic is crazy. Like, do they add more enemies? Like,
Yeah, it will add more enemies as you go along. So you found 29 stars. Here's some rewards. So like I said, you get rewards for your next game. So we'll start off with these thunder cards are an AoE card that are really good, and then the swords are pretty basic. So yeah, we got slaughtered.
weird. So each game is like a run. I kind of wish it was one game and like multiple runs.
Well, it is multiple runs. So if you start a new game, it starts a new run. But this time around, we actually have options for like things that we can do. So it will give us additional cards, and then we can also use memories that we collected during previous runs on abilities. So the first ones that we have access to are the Hourglass one, which there will be a certain mob where there will be a golden hourglass. On each floor, a demon will wear a golden hourglass in its head. Defeating this demon will give you a bonus turn. That one's pretty useful. And then the one where you can find steel cards in chests. This one is more useful than the steel. And so the more you play, the more you find it's like, so there's this like building synergy where like the very first run that you do is ridiculously hard, but you do accomplish some things. And as a result of accomplishing that, when you go back and do the next run, you will start with additional abilities or additional cards, which will allow you to proceed further on your next run, accomplish more things, and then you'll get more abilities. So there's this like snowball effect that you can achieve, but you can only achieve that, much like Hades, through failure.
So, like every time you start a run, you end up like every game is like a run. I guess is
It would be equivalent to like a single run through like Darkest Dungeon or like Slay the Spire or something like that. Whereas in this case, it's like you starting the game over. Yeah, is equivalent to doing a run because there is only that game.